I started out actually here at the University of Bath in the Department of Computer Science as an undergraduate back in 2008. And I did my undergraduate here. I did my placement out in a defence and aerospace company, and at the time I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in the defence industry. And during that time, as I came to the end of that placement and as I was coming into my final year, I began to realise that actually that wasn't my passion, and my passion was actually to look at different ways of helping people through rehabilitation and therapy. And as I finished up my undergraduate degree, I began thinking about postgraduate options, and my first instinct was to do a traditional PhD. And it was at that point that someone in the department introduced me to the Centre for Digital Entertainment and the engineering doctorate. And it was at that point that I sort of knew that I wanted to go more down an applied route of research rather than, I suppose, purely theoretical, and actually work with companies, have some impact in industry. But the structure of the CDE is that the research engineers come in their first years, either at Bath University or Bournemouth University, and in that time we'll do essentially an integrated master's, doing the sort of taught courses with a research element that prepares them for sort of subsequent years doing research. And during that time they'll meet people in their cohort, fellow research engineers, people starting at the same time, also looking for companies to go out and work with. And by the end of the first year, research engineers will have found their partner company, and from the second year onwards will go out and go into companies for the remainder of their projects, and that's where they'll do their research. They'll be embedded in these companies. I took a slightly less traditional route with the NGD, in that I've been based primarily here at the university. So my partner company, I have two partner companies. The first is Designability, which is a medical engineering charity based here in Bath, who work very closely with people with various disabilities to work on assistive technology. And the second sponsor is called the Brain Injury Rehabilitation Trust, or BIRT, who are a national charity working with people with acquired brain injuries, so brain injuries that have occurred after birth. So rather than being out working at those charity locations, although I've been out there at various times, I've been mostly based here at the university, which has given, I suppose, different opportunities to most other entities. So the project itself was proposed by the Brain Injury Rehabilitation Trust. So I have a number of different supervisors at the trust, and this is, I suppose, essentially the brainchild of one of those supervisors, a clinical neuropsychologist called Brian O'Neill, who came up with this idea to use virtual reality as a way of creating a realistic setting for people to practice what we call activities of daily living. All research engineers in the CDE have a budget that they can use over the course of their doctoral degree, and this is something they need to agree on how to spend with their supervisors. Many people will go and use this for conferences, so there are opportunities to go out to conferences that are relevant to your field. There are a lot of people that go in groups actually to some of the major conferences for the various research areas. So there's CHI, which is for human-computer interaction researchers, which often takes place in America, and also SIGGRAPH, which is more of interest to the graphics-focused researchers. And there tends to be quite a large group of people, not only from the CDE, but from the University of Bath and Bournemouth, who will go there as a group and experience that together. One of the opportunities that's afforded by the CDE is to make the most of this collaboration between Bath and Bournemouth. So even though I was based in Bath, I did go down to Bournemouth and take a module there. And likewise, we've had students in the past from Bournemouth coming up and actually spending a whole year at Bath, even though they're registered down in Bournemouth. So there's this collaboration taking place between the two universities that really makes the most of the resources that each has available, and makes that available to CDE students. So the appeal of the CDE for me was really this applied route, this idea that you could go out into companies and work directly with the companies, but not just the developers and designers and managers at the companies, but also their end users and their clients, and the people who would actually end up using technology. And really, I didn't see a very clear way in a traditional PhD to be able to do that. With the CDE, it became very apparent very quickly that this was an integral part of the course, and that actually you could go out into industry, work with a company, work with their clients, get to know the people who are going to be using the technology, and look at their unique needs and requirements, which is something that can be a lot harder to do, I think, for a traditional PhD. That access to industry is something that I don't think is always there or is so readily available. And having some commitment from a company, or in my case a charity, to support your research over those couple of years and to give you access to their staff and their expertise, just gives a whole different route, really.